Breaking news angengisabi nonke for sec.
Greetings and welcome to the Ruachile Rising podcast. This is episode 6. Today my look is inspired by Bjork. Can you tell that I've been listening to a lot of Bjork lately? It's also Heritage Day, so this look really is a combination of, Xhosa facial decoration and a Bjork video that I watched the other day. And she kind of had her hair up in these bantu knots, I'll call them. Please let's not cancel Bjork for wearing bantu knots. It looks amazing. Um, and yeah, and I just did my makeup like that. And happy Heritage Day if this video does come out on Heritage Day, a very special day in South Africa that celebrates really the diverse cultures and I guess, yeah. I mean,
Stop the cap.
today on this episode, I will be talking about an issue that I briefly started writing about, and then it really, evolved as a topic into something that really speaks to the socio-economic conditions of living in South Africa. I was initially writing about load shedding and how load shedding has affected me as a small business, as an entrepreneur, also just as somebody who generally cannot afford a generator or a solar farm or solar power. I don't know. So I kind of started talking about load shedding in the context of living, in, the townships, But as I wrote, there are some insights that really came out that I thought I could hop on and share, especially if they don't make it into the final version, of the article. I think already as people who reside in townships, we are kind of born on the back foot of life and of society because we are being born into what I would consider a labor concentration camp. The reason why townships were built was so that Black people can reside close enough to central business districts so that they can continue to supply labor to white people, right? And these townships are obviously a product of apartheid. They are a product of white capital, the protection and the preservation of white capital. So, um, to this day, you can actually, see the repercussions of this because a lot of us are third, fourth generation township dwellers, and you've one of the key markers, of many townships is really a shortage of productive third spaces, right? Like you have a lot of church, you have a lot of drinking places, shebeens, taverns, and such. And then you kind of got your fast food joints, and more recently, you've had a lot of malls popping up, right? But apart from these, because these are obviously, there are parks, there are recreation centers, but those are really few and far in between. Service delivery is just, yeah, let's not even go there. And I think that is why the issues around load shedding become so deeply impactful because the already existing structure of things is already unfair. So, this actually led me to start thinking about okay, so if we are going to resolve, the issue of load shedding, there are things to think about, such as, the township economy in itself, right? So, there is this term that's being thrown around that goes like, okay, we are existing, the township economy. It's being framed as a sort of like untapped potential, and a lot of like, mainstream entities are, investing a lot of time and effort into understanding, the township economy and how they can push product our way. So, we also, have, become, very high level consumers within these townships, right? Because of those monies that we earn outside of, whatever. And so we don't really produce much, right? So in contemplating the issue of the township, you know, economy, and kind of defining it, right? The way that it's currently defined is that, a lot of like most township businesses are characterized by informal trading. So that would be like your spaza shops, people selling on the side of the road, and now I think also with the entry of malls and more like sort of mainstream businesses. But we also have to remember that it's not Black people who own most of the stores inside a township mall. They are white owned, right? um, the other day I walked into Pick and Pay where I live in Soweto, and there was like a little shrine for Mr. Ackman.
That's what Pick and Pay is all about.
Because I feel like when you look around a South African township, you can tell that very little thought was applied to the social, infrastructural, and economic development of townships themselves, right? So it's like a lot of things have come as an afterthought, like, oh, shucks, a shop might be needed around here. We can't just be building rows and rows of matchbox houses. So you just find, things, are poorly organized in that way, you know. And really, I think the idea of the township economy, right, is almost like, also separating Black people from the rest, right, of the economy. So it's like creating this niche out of Black people, or containing them some way, right? So you're going to contain them within that township economy, right? So this actually reminded me of Bantu. It reminds me of the concept of Bantustans, where Black people were given like little pieces of land, which is how all these different heritages come about, right? All these different cultures, 11 different official languages. Essentially, Black people were split into these little homelands where they could control, and they would have like their own little um, leaderships, so each one kind of operated as a little, I guess, like a little country, but within colonialism, like, hey, please take control of your Black people. Type of sneeze, right? So Stephen Bantubiko, God rest his soul, really, asked us or demanded that we reject the idea of understands, right? Like rejecting being um being given a solution that does not really fix the problem, right? Because the inherent problem is racism, right? The problem that we have today, the problems that we have in the townships today are a direct result of racism. They are a direct result of, apartheid. Like, yes, okay, you can say the ANC government is corrupt, it's this, it's that. Obviously, that is an additional layer to the problem. But where the problem begins to, show its head and initiate, and where it begins to, where the problem is born from is, apartheid, right? So, we are, Stephen Bandavika says, Black people reject this approach, that is the Bantustan approach, for so many reasons, none of which are as fundamental as the fact that it is a solution given to us by the same people who have created the problem. So for white capital to come and talk about township economies, for white people to come, sorry, I'm so sorry if I'm sounding like a racist, but because I'm not racist, but solutions or these terms are being given to us, right? By banks, and stuff, by people who stand to gain an interest, right? But we need to understand that, I do not feel that a township economy exists if we are not producing and creating our own products and the entire value chain is township based. Then you have a functioning township economy. That is real as empowerment. A lot of our money is actually leaving, the townships. When you buy sugar at the store, when you buy bread, it's going to Mr. Albany, whoever the fuck that is, whoever the fuck owns Albany. It's definitely not a black person. It's definitely not somebody who resides, in the township. And I think that these are the problems that we need to solve as business people. This is the type of problem I am here to solve as a black businesswoman residing in the township. For me, it's very interesting that not many black business people are able to operate at that huge capacity. I'm not saying there are none, but not many can, right? And so I think that, with even like saying that, there's huge spending power in townships is also kind of like, it's an insult, because even how that money is earned is often because they have to like, take themselves way out of the township, in order to gain employment. And most of their money is spent on, you know, most of the money leaves. So if the money is leaving, then what do you have, left here in the township? Therefore, there is no economy. I think that we are part of the broader economy, but perhaps because we are, I guess, lower class consumers, it's almost like now we need to be separated, and this sort of potential needs to be looked into and kind of honed, and then other people, stand to benefit from the concept, as it often happens, right? So I feel that, I do think that, in the next election year, a lot of that is going to be said. A lot of these parties are going to be talking about township economies because they obviously, want our vote. I mean, it's been something that's, been talked about, I think, several years. I think the term really started like, okay, popping up and hitting the mainstream, right? And I think for me personally, my micro solution to the whole thing is, um, understanding that we also do have the potential to create our own township based value chains in terms of creating products, providing services, and there's a lot out there. It's all about connection, and sorry to sound cliche, but collaborating with other township businesses, to come up with solutions to the problems we have, but also ensuring that the capital is circulating around us. Like, this is a formula as old as time. You can literally Google it. If we can get together in collectives of like 10, 20, 30 people, and start like, pushing each other's businesses or creating that dope ass ecosystem around one another, right? And also like really investing in the kind of business that translates to us creating our own food, and our own sustenance. And of course, it takes me back again to the load shedding issue. producing our own electricity as well. So now, so if I were to think of a township economy, that's how I would, really define it. I would define it as having our value chain, contained within empowering people who, live and operate and do business within the township. So that is really it for episode 6. It was kind of a freestyle, but I'm really glad that I did it, and I'm also really glad that I did a video. And I really hope that you like it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with anybody who you think might find this useful. Peace.
I got a hose, I got it in different load shedding zones. That's where I keep it everywhere I go. Doesn't matter when, they shed load.